Great. Our technical advisor, Michael, the rider gate says we're ready, so we're as ready as we're going to be. First thing I want to do is simply say thank you. Thank you for taking some time out of what I know to be pretty busy schedules and spending it with us tonight. We are here to present to you what I call kind of a state of the club. It's an overview of where the club is at the halfway point through the year, but it's also beginning to present to you under the new administration of your board leadership and officers, what is our go-forward strategic plan. And woven in the middle of that is your own voice. We reached out to our membership earlier in the year and asked for your opinion to help give us guidance and insight into what matters most to you with regard to our decorum, house rules, how do we update it to better emulate lifestyles, as well as, if we move forward, how best to spend our resources to bring the most value to the club. From time to time, you may hear a beep. That is our online community. We are both presenting it in person as well as putting it broadcasting on the internet to our online folks. We have a pretty aggressive agenda today, so I don't want to waste any more of your time. I'm going to move straight forward to our first speaker, which is our General Manager, Jim Rensler, and COO, and he's going to bring to you today a message from the club, but as well from his position as Executive Director of our foundation. Jim? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jim Rensler. I'm the General Manager, Chief Operating Officer. I've been here serving you for the past 9 years. It's been a quick 9 years. Last year, I assumed, I was honored to assume the role of Executive Director for the Columbia Club Foundation. Big honor for me to work with those ladies and gentlemen of the foundation, and I'm going to give a brief overview of the foundation. Let's see. Oh. I went the wrong way. Ta-da. The purpose of the Columbia Club Foundation, Inc. is to maintain the exterior of the building, infrastructure, as well as the treasured art and artifacts of the club. For those who may not be aware, the foundation is an integral part of the club operations and very helpful. I'd like to also recognize the officers of the foundation. And if you're here, please stand up. Darrell White, the president. Steve Nash, vice president. Britt Killinger. And Katie DeFabro, the treasurer. Now I'm going to talk about the 4 core principles of the foundation. The first one is restoring. The foundation oversees the preservation of memorable art pieces and restoration of the historic Columbia Club. Number 2, preserving. The foundation celebrates the Columbia Club's history and tradition by preserving the registered historic building and curating a vast collection of art. Number 3, honoring. The foundation honors magnificent works by proudly displaying them all over the club. Guests can admire the artwork and learn about the artist, and you can see by all the artifacts. Collecting, the core principle. The foundation collects a variety of artistic styles and mediums. Everything from extravagant beer steins on the second floor to beautiful paintings are showcased throughout the club. Now I'd like to recognize all the trustees of the foundation. And if you're a trustee and you're here tonight, please stand to be recognized. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Okay, there are several ways that Columbians can support the foundation through their tax-deductible giving. We have a BRIC program. If you look at the table in the back of the room, I've laid out some brochures for the BRIC program, the license plate program, the gift of life, and monthly or annual pledges to the operating fund, the building infrastructure facade fund, endowment investment fund, and the art and artifacts fund. You can also, in estate planning, identify the foundation as a beneficiary. The foundation hosts 2 fundraising events annually. The Foundation Holiday Gala, which is going to be this Saturday, November 17th. Last year we had over 150 Columbians attend. It was a great event, black tie event. We had a raffle, silent and live auction, and Columbians are welcome to donate items for that auction. And then there's a great band and dinner and dancing. The other event was our first event this past May, was the Concourse d'Elegance. It was the inaugural event held in May, this past May, and we had a silent auction also to benefit the foundation. We had 24 Columbians showcase their beautiful cars, and we had about 100 in attendance. So once again, Columbians can donate to the silent auction. Also, recently we had 17 Columbians sponsor a table for the CLD dinner. The CLD stands for Center for Leadership Development. It is one of our outreach programs that the club backs. The donations were collected by the foundation, in turn offering a tax-deductible deduction to those Columbians. And the foundation was able to fund this project to help ensure future leaders as they begin their journey from high school to college. We had 43 scholars that received scholarships anywhere from 2 years to 4 years from major universities here in the state of Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan. It's a great event, and again, I want to thank those Columbians, those 17 sponsors that donated that money to make this event possible. And this was our 7th annual CLD dinner for the scholars. We look forward to your support through monetary donations, which you can see some pledge cards in the back, all the different programs that we do, and or your participation in the fundraising events. Now it's my honor to introduce Robert Korn, our CFO, to give a financial overview. Robert?
Don't get scared, I'm not going to read this whole book, I just wanted to bring something. So, good evening, and thank you all for attending this event. As mentioned by Jim, my name is Robert Korn, I'm the club CFO. I started my journey here in March of 2018, so I've been here just over 4 months. I'm very happy to be here and be a part of your club. Since I know a discussion centered around financial statements isn't the most interesting thing you're going to hear tonight, I'll keep it short and get straight to the point. As you all saw in the last magazine, we published our 2017 audited results for your review. There were quite a few numbers in those financial statements that were concerning to me from my perspective. We only had a cash balance of $79,000. We had an accounts payable balance of $533,000. And we showed a loss for the year of $195,000. So not a banner year by any definition. What I'm happy to say right now is, as I stand here tonight, things are actually going much better this year. As of June 30th, our cash balance is, $278,000. Our accounts payable balance is $257,000. We worked diligently to pay off payables that related to the improvements we made last year, and all of our current invoices are kept in current within 30 days of issuance. I would be remiss if I didn't say this a little bit differently. In the last 6 months, we've been able to increase our cash balance by $199,000 and decrease our accounts payable by $76,000. And I think that's a pretty impressive turnaround in a short period of time for a club our size. Regarding the current year-to-date P&L, I think the news is even better. As for the first 6 months of the year, we're showing a profit of $106,000. Sorry about that. I got so in my, graphically it shows the improvement in cash equivalents and the accounts payable, showing the increase a P&L perspective, current year to date is going much better than it was last year. We are currently showing a profit of $106,000 for the first 6-month period. This is compared to a budgeted loss of $192,000, which means that we're $298,000 above budget. If you compare our current 6-year period to the same 6-month period last year, you'd see that last year we had a $640,000 loss for the first 6 months. So this is a $745,000 improvement year-over-year comparison. So improved revenues have helped us achieve this, but really what's been the driving factor is decreases in expenses. We're running at a much more streamlined and efficient level than we were budgeted and compared to last year. We are exceptionally thrilled with the first 6 months results because right now we're moving into what has historically been our more profitable months. July and August being the summer months will be a little bit slower, but September through December have really been our bread and butter historically from a fiscal perspective. So we're really excited about where this leads us. Looking at the performance for the first 6 months compared to and adding what we're projecting for the next 6 months, we really anticipate we're going to have a very profitable year. The improved balance sheet and current profitability gives us an optimistic view moving forward. Personally, I do view this as a very exciting time to be part of the club. We seem to have turned the corner on things. We've turned the corner on things and are moving firmly in the right direction. Even though we'll still need to be fiscally responsible, which I assure you I will be, we're definitely moving in the right direction, and I'm very excited to be part of this as we move forward.
I'm going to brag on our staff just a bit before we move on. If you look at budget and you look at achieved, budgeted revenue and achieved, not only did they beat it, but they also look at their forecasted expenses and where they hit it. They actually are within a few percentage points of forecasting revenue and forecasting expenses and actually realizing them, but they realize them to the betterment of both ways, a little more income, a little less expenses. To me, whenever an organization can forecast 6 months out and actually hit those numbers, it says two things. They know what they're doing and they're in control. So I would say that right now our club is in a great financial situation and under great leadership and great management. So hats off to the staff and of the club. Next up, we're going to call upon our catering department, Jason Boyer, our director, and his assistant. And they're going to bring some good news, but they're also going to bring a warning. As we look out into the future, they're beginning to close out some of the dates a little early. So we're kind of giving you a shot up across the bow that if you want to book those wonderful holiday events, do so right away. Jason.
Hi, I'm Rachel McCardle. I'm one of the catering and event managers here at the club, and like Robert, I've been here since March, so still pretty new, but enjoying my time here. Just a couple things to let you know about what we're currently working on. Our current promotion is focusing on holiday parties. You will receive 10% off if booked by the end of this month, so just about another week to go, and that would be for any new business. What we're working on for the third and fourth quarter, again targeting holiday parties and corporate events for 2018. We are also focusing on weddings for the end of this year still and 2019, and contacting old business and events. So for example, all holiday parties that were here last year have been already contacted, asked to see if they want to return, and right now we need to get back on what some of them have said. And those are for the ones that have not already booked. And that is all.
Hello everyone, I'm Jason. I'm your wedding guru here at the club. We this year have had a total of 38 weddings on books. We still have 22 left, so needless to say we are in wedding season. And I'm not going to name names, but I see some people engaged out here, and we need to talk. 2019, we're starting to get a lot of inquiries coming in for this. Usually, annually, I see a lot right after the first of the year, and I see a lot in the fall. So I feel like we're getting a little bit of an early start on this already for 2019, but You know, with the weddings we have left for this year, there's still a lot of opportunity for upselling for those events. Thank you. Oh, I did.
You know, at this point in time, we had the option to do a very creative video from Tammy Gunston, our communications director. But Tammy, the video didn't work. So I warned you that if it didn't work, I was going to ask you to come forward and actually give your video live. The video was recorded because she was not able to attend, but the last minute, husband took the kids out for the evening, freeing her up, so you can do a live and in-person presentation. And welcome, Tammy Gunston, our communications director.
I should probably stand back here because as most will tell you, I don't normally need a microphone. Anyway, for those of you I've not met, my name is Tammy Gunston. I'm the communications director here at the club. A lot of the role that I take on is making sure you all know what's happening here. We have many different resources to try and tap into all of the different ways that people engage in the club. Certainly all of you are familiar with the Columbian Magazine. That is delivered 7 times a year, so we have tried to streamline our processes with that, where we're doing a January-February edition, continuing monthly or bi-monthly with those, except for the months of November and December. We know that we've got so many activities those 2 months that we wanted to make sure that we're getting that information out to you individually for those occasions. But additionally, we have our Monday email. We also have social media. So if you've not started to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, we are trying to have a lot more of a presence there. And we're seeing a lot of activity on the Facebook page with doing some boosted posts for some of our new and prospective member receptions, which will then reach out to those that are following us on Facebook and their network of friends to entice them to learn a little bit more about the club. In addition to that, we've got our reader boards, we have the posters, so there are just a number of different areas that we do try to reach out, make sure you know what is happening at the club. Most importantly, we have our mobile app, so that's really our big push now. It streamlines directly to the website, which is another avenue to keep you updated. And if you've not taken advantage of downloading that app, it is complimentary to you for both Android and iPhone users. And you can have the club at your fingertips. This app will allow you to make reservations. You can view all of the upcoming events for the next 45 days. You can check to see who is coming to those events and then encourage those that have not signed up to attend with you. You also can pay your bill online. Who doesn't like that, right, Robert? So again, a lot of different resources. We're adding some new features, so we're always open to the feedback and what we can do to make sure you're able to take advantage of all of the events here at the club. So with that, I also chair the staff liaison with the communications committee, and I'd like to introduce you to Steve Firo, who is our current board secretary and the communications chair, and he's going to share an update you all will love to hear.
Hi, I'm Steve Firo, chair of the Communications Committee and secretary of the club. I saw Tammy's video, and man, she really followed it very closely. So she must have memorized her script. One of the things Tammy really focused on was use of the club app. And the club app really offers a great opportunity for the club to target members for specific events and do a lot of the things that she mentioned. But if you've already downloaded the app, and far too few of us have downloaded it, I think Tammy counted there are only 200 of us that have the phone app. If you've used it, you know it doesn't always work perfectly. And one of the reasons it doesn't always work perfectly is we don't have business class Wi-Fi throughout the club. I mean, that phone app has to pull information from our system. And if it can't do that, it's not going to respond quickly. So one of the major projects we've been working on for the last few months is to upgrade the Wi-Fi in the building. And it seems like that ought to be a simple thing. You know, you've got these Wi-Fi access points throughout the building. There are, what, 30 of them, I think. And you think, well, let's just replace those and we're good to go. Well, you know, it's not quite that simple. We've got a building that's almost 100 years old, lots of solid concrete and steel, and you know, electronic waves don't penetrate some of those areas of the club. Additionally, we've got a club that is you know, very early in a major financial turnaround. So we had some objectives that we wanted to meet with this project that would minimize our you know, financial commitment in terms of capital expense, and that we wanted a straight lease of the equipment so that we didn't own this equipment, which tends to become obsolete in 36 to 48 months anyway. And we really wanted a good partner. And so over the last few months, we have had an RFP process going on, had a number of potential vendors. I think it started at 11 and increased to 14, and then we got down to 4 finalists. And I'm happy to report that we're down to looking at the final details. So it's down to contracts and final details. Robert is working through those along with Sid Steele, and I think did I? Okay. All right. Yeah. So as you see, our current wireless infrastructure was installed in approximately 2010. So it's 8 years old, and obviously technology has advanced significantly since that time. I think what a lot of us don't realize is you come in and you utilize your cell phone or you utilize a tablet, and maybe it doesn't connect to the internet, and it's a frustration. But everything is really relying on this wireless connectivity issue. And so it's important for club operations and club efficiency, and our North Star system, which our point of sale operates on. So right now we've got 100 megabytes per second internet speed coming into the club, 30 wireless access points, and we really have limited ability to stream video or connect consistently. So what I'm happy to report is through our process and through diligent work from the staff, Jim and Stephanie really pressed upon some of these vendors to make sure that when they are bidding to do wiring in the building, that they really understand what they're getting into, because you can't just lay wire anywhere, and you're going to have to drill through walls. Robert has been diligent in making sure that what is being proposed financially is matched in the contract, and Sid Steele's part of that too. So I'm very happy to say that this fall, certainly by tree lighting, we're going to have a 1 gigabyte pipe coming into the club, fiber optic based. That was one of our objectives. We wanted fiber because that gives us, a technical solution that is going to last hopefully more than 5 years. We're going to have power over Ethernet switches. We're going to more than double our wireless access points, and we're going to create some revenue generating options through landing pages for guests and events. So I think it's a very exciting development. I think it really is a great thing to take a historic club and provide it with state-of-the-art technology. So that's what's going on in the communications world, and you'll be able to use your phone app very effectively this fall.
Anybody who's been trying to log into your office and have your internet drop, you'll understand the frustration that we hopefully will avoid going forward. Next, I want to bring in our chairman for the membership, Matt Friel. Matt Friel is been a member of the club for a few years. He's also part of the Harrison Society Committee. He's also a graduate of what we call our Columbian Community Impact Leadership Development Program. And he's here to speak to you a little bit about where our membership committee is going and some of the things he has in store.
Well, thank you. And I came to the club, as President Bach mentioned, a couple years ago, and I don't think it's just coincidence that I'm in the seat I am today as the chairman of the membership committee. It wasn't too long ago where I was contemplating if my membership here really was worth it, if it made a difference, and if it made a staple in my life. And I think over the time of looking into things and really finally delving in and diving into my membership and meeting people here, I realized that it is worth it because of the people that are a part of this club. And I only say that just to share a little bit. If you've been at any of the new and prospective member events over the past few months, I share that at every event. The quote I say over and over is Jim Rohn, and he says that you're the average of the 5 people that you spend your time with the most. And I think that really encapsulates this club and the people that are here and the reason that membership really, that's why it matters to me, and I think that's why it matters to so many around. So not too long ago, after I graduated from the CCI program and stepped into this role, President Bach had reached out and challenged all the committee chairmen to focus on 4 different areas and try to bring in some innovative ideas to these things. And those are the brand management, acquisition of membership, retention of our membership, and efficiency within the club. So we took a second and stepped back in the membership committee and try to figure out how it is that we can benefit and bring something of value to those areas. And I think the areas that we found the most are those first 3. And this is kind of what we've come up with our focus for the next year. And that starts with the promotion. So that goes to the brand management and the acquisition, right? Because if people know who we are and what we stand for and why we're here, they're going to want to be a part of this. So we want to get our name out there, and we're looking at a bunch of different avenues of that and trying to figure that out. And I've tasked the members of our committee to come up with some ideas there and to see how we can do that. Because we are known, the club has a certain persona in the community, and we're trying to make sure that we're not known as just one certain type of person that can be a part of our community, right? We want to change that. Whether or not that was true for 20, 30, 40 years ago, that's not true today. We are a very diverse club. We have a lot of different cultures and communities here, and we want to continue to help that so that we can continue to thrive. And that's where we're trying to get that name out, and we're trying to help that image of our brand. The next piece of things here is obviously the ambassadorship. So we want to make sure that when someone joins, that they feel like they're a part of our family. So in those first 90 days, we want to make sure that we're trying to get the feel good, right? So whether it's staff or membership and a combination of the both, we're getting 5 to 6 touches with those people in the first 90 days. And we think that's imperative, and we're coming up with ideas on the best way to do that moving forward. Another area is community. So when Smari went out and they did some research on the community and the areas and the people that we think are ideal members of our club, and what is it that they're looking for in a club like ours, and what can we do to bring them in as potential members, and how can we bring them into our family. So in looking at that, we found that especially a lot of the younger professionals in the area, they want something that is bigger than themselves. They want something more of community. And that's where we've actually added a seat to the membership committee with the Harrison Society and asked them to come on and take this task on themselves head on. And how can we help bring in membership, people that want to be something bigger than themselves, give to philanthropy, not just money, but time, and help people understand that the community of the Columbia Club is here to help the community of Indianapolis. So that's the piece of the community and the brand management, and I think that also helps with the acquisition and the retention of our membership. We also are focusing on understanding, and that's basically centered around the exit process. Right now, for someone to walk away from our club, it's one conversation and a signature and off you go. And I think, honestly, for someone to leave my family, it needs to be a lot more than that. I want to understand why they want to walk away, what they're not getting here. So we're trying to figure out what is that going to take for us to understand what it is that the club's not offering that we may be able to offer, or why is it that they're walking away that they may not understand that the club can do that for them. and we think through multiple conversations and innovation in the process of walking away from the club, we can understand that better. So that's the piece of the understanding that we're trying to focus on there. And the last piece of things, I also wanted to share a little bit on the numbers of where we're at. We're not where we want to be by any means. Through the year so far, we are at a negative number still. We've been at a negative number for membership for the past decade. That's not okay to me, and I know that's not okay to any of you, because you want this place to continue to thrive, right? The positive is that we're only negative 15 through the year, which is, through July, which is 46% lower than it was a year ago. So we have a lot of good things in the works, and we're doing everything we can to continue to improve that, because by the end of 2018, I want to do everything in my power, and I know everyone else on the membership committee wants to do everything in their power to make sure that we're at break even. We've got a long road ahead of us, a big wall to climb, but we can get there. So that's where we're at, and that's where we look to go.
The next thing we did is we reached out to you, and we did put a survey out there asking you to give us your opinion and share your voice with us. And we did listen to that voice, and that voice has been incorporated into our strategic planning and has been incorporated into the way we want to serve our membership and truly provide a platinum service experience. To do that, we asked SMARI to help us in reaching out to you. And tonight we have Katie Zimmerman, who is the president of SMARI, but she's also a Columbian, has been since 14. She's part of the Harrison Society Committee. She also is a Columbian Community Impact graduate, and she currently sits on the Indiana War Memorials Foundation. Katie, take it.
Thank you, President Ittenbach. He's also my dad, so I give him a hard time. So I have the privilege of sharing a lot of data with you, and I do have a number of slides, but keep in mind this is your feedback that you gave us, and now you get to kind of see the results of that, and it's a good kind of transition for what Matt was talking about of our goals of where we're trying to go, and it will segue into what Jim will be talking about shortly of our strategy. So this just sets the foundation that what we're doing is grounded in data, it's not all just gut instinct, and we have a direction of where we're going. So what I'm going to try to get through is some general sentiment of membership, so what's that voice sound like? House rules reviews, we had some voting that went on in the survey, and then the strategic direction as a result of that, and then I'll be handing it over to Jim. So behind the scenes of this, so I'm going to be presenting a moment in time survey that everyone took, but we also are continuously tracking in real time your satisfaction with the events that you're going to. So this is a dashboard that we've been keeping and tracking on a regular basis. And I know that the board is watching, and this, just to know this is kind of in the background and always happening, and the research that we're presenting is going to be more of a snapshot in time of where that's going. So research methodology, which we have to go through. So this is basically my terms of saying that what we did was statistically sound and valid, and it's right. But what we're aiming for is to get 20% of membership to respond to our survey, and in short terms of summarizing this entire slide, we got 21%, so we'll call that happy. So what we're presenting has at least 300 completed surveys, precision error of plus or minus 5%, or statistically sound is what you can take away from this. So with that, Net Promoter Score might be a new term to some of you, but basically what that is in research terms is we try to measure loyalty. So we do that with a simple question of how likely are you to recommend the club to family and friends and colleagues. And what that does is it's kind of a universal measure that we use in market research to measure across industries, and we try to reach a certain threshold. So it's on a scale that I'm sure some of you remember from your survey. And this was our results, and that would translate into an NPS score of 31, which is good. It reaches a tolerable level, but we would like to be more into a threshold above 40. So what that says is we have some things that we can improve upon. This was taken a little while ago. We have improved on some of our NPS scores since then on our weekly tracking, but it's something that we want to monitor, and we were able to see from this data what else can we do to improve and how can we continue to advance. So what we see here is a detractor, which is, it sounds worse than it really is, but you're just not necessarily likely to go to the mountaintops and scream, join a Columbia Club. What we want to do is position that more to loyalists. We want more green people here, and we want more loyalists that are likely to recommend. Because what that translates to for us is that you're proud of your club, and you want other people to join it too, and you're willing to put your endorsement on that. That's why it becomes a more powerful number for us to track. So what we're doing is saying, how can we improve that 31 and make it more of a 45 and reach even the ultimate threshold of about a 50? And this is where it becomes interesting on the research side of how do we break this down by age, and what do we need to do to fix this? So what target should we be running at to actually fix this? So we broke this out by age, and we also used spend quartiles. And the reason why we looked at spend is because that was some of our best measurement of frequency. How involved and engaged are people in the club, measured by probably how much they spend here. And what we can see is that spend is reflective of engagement, and the more you're engaged, the higher your score is. So those that are at the top quartile have an NPS score of 52. That's actually the threshold we want to see the entire membership at. That's that loyalty threshold. So how can we build engagement, and where are we falling short? And when we broke that by age, we can actually see that there's some big differences by age group here. So when we have our millennials under 35, they're falling more in that middle category that we term a passive. So how do we move them up to promoters? We're getting close, but we're missing something. And then this 35 to 55-year-old age range, that's actually where our detractors are at. So what are we doing there? And that's also what you might think about, that's a lot of the children, growing up children, how we get family oriented. So we can dig into this data a little bit, and that's where you'll see some of the strategies coming from, is focusing on how do we have a multi-generational club and be something for everyone. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we preserve what we're doing right for those that are loyal to what we have in the club. So what's that balance? And that's kind of the strategy that we put forward. So we also asked what we call open-ended verbatim questions. And this is the summary of that. So, basically gave an open-ended response of give us some feedback of how we can improve. This is a good summary of some of the common themes that we heard, which also provides direction of how can we improve more. So rooms and facility was one that was heard quite often, of how can we update and renovate. Dining reservations, consistency of reservations, making sure reservations are actually taken and kept. Special events, and staff and service levels. I think special events was a common one. There's a lot of very in-depth suggestions too from the brainstorming aspect of what kind of events can we have, and we also heard a lot of family events brought into that too, so we can see where that multi-generational aspect is coming from. Okay, so house rules. I don't think everybody's seen the results of these yet, right? Okay, so this is going to be great. So I started actually off with the first slide of these are all the more favorable, and we can see basically what you'll see on the right-hand side is the 47% was favorable, 25% more opposed. So this one was more on the winning side than the opposing side. So increasing the age of children pay dues privileges to the club from 21 to 25, more favorable in that regard. So extending the protocol members only at the discretion of the board, more favorable than unfavorable. Columbia Club app for product service advice, more favorable. Allowing handheld phones and devices in the French room, more favorable, which is good because I think it happened. I didn't say that. Without conversation. Allowing members to use member contact information for more kind of networking purposes, more favorable. So this was kind of all the feedback of more people were in favor of these aspects. And then moving to the next slide, there is a common theme around attire, and that's really what this next slide pretty much encompasses. So favorable aspects of attire is allowing guests to be more relaxed dress after business hours, and allowing appropriate attire in the main lobby and elevators and guest rooms was seen more favorably. Where we start getting a little bit more polarizing, as we say, kind of on opposition, but still more favorable, updating dress code to allow business casual preferred as opposed to required throughout common areas. There's still some opposition in that category. And then we start getting a little bit more on the other side. So now we're getting closer. The middle part, the reason why it doesn't add to 100 here is there's some neutral either side of the fence. So we're just measuring the opposing sides here. So updating dress code law for neat pants and shorts and optional jackets was a little bit more on either side. And then allowing jeans, athletic gear, and hats, much more opposed. So we have some polarizing elements of the attire here, some in favor, maybe not getting down to actually allowing hats and jeans in the club. And then we actually have one more. So men to wear hats, both formal and informal, definitely more opposed on that end. Okay, so the next steps with House Rules. So House Rules Subcommittee is formed. That's going to be in final review in September with a board review in October. So none of this is decided at this point, but it will be decided as of October. Okay. Okay, so getting into strategic direction. So as Matt mentioned earlier, there was research conducted before this from a more market standpoint of what people want. And we do know that there's a generational focus here. So we looked at this a little bit more in depth, and speaking from a different survey of asking what does the market want in a club, how do they get outside of themselves and be part of something bigger is what we had to focus here. So looking at these different age generations here, we have, because President Bach loves words, keywords to phrase things, we have a validate, aspire, and achieve. So within the millennial generation, it ended up being kind of how can we validate professionalism, our career, we're in the starting point of what this looks like. The aspire, so this is how can I engage individuals where I want to be, how do I aspire, I'm in the midst of the progress of my career. And then achieving, we're in this 55 to 75, so I want to engage with individuals that enjoy what I enjoy. So these were some examples of things that fared well within these generations. I think you can see where the family element fell in with that middle generation here. And recall that was also the segment that had more of those detractors in it. So how can we focus on some of those elements? And I can say that a lot of this is already in the works. The CCI program, that was kind of on the validation leadership program aspect of this. And there's a lot of new events that have come out that have revolved around this. So this is kind of a more in progress slide of what's really happening to pull in a new generation and also push the engagement aspect to people. Okay, so now we're going to get some statistics here, but bear with me. So this is called a maximum differential rotation. The way that I call it for short for people, it's a fancy rank order system. So what it is when we're looking at potential investments, because that's a part of this too. We have the programs, we know where we need to focus, we know where we need to build loyalty, but how can we improve and what do we invest in first? How do we allocate some of those resources? So we asked this in the survey, and we asked everybody to prioritize that for us, because that's what data can help us do and validate. So this was kind of the priority rank it came in. But what a maximum differential does is it's not just a 1st through 10 kind of rank order. It gives that space in between, actually makes a difference. It shows how much more important that aspect really is over the next item in there. So what we can see is rooftop venue and hotel guest renovation. That's 1st and 2nd, but they're almost interchangeable, which means that they're both really a top priority. And then you do have some space and drop down between that and the kitchen renovation. So we can kind of see from this spatial gap here how important that really is to the membership and what should we kind of focus on. So that's one way to look at the rank order of what we should look at. And I think rooftop venue has been a buzzword that's circulated around the club for a little bit. And that did come up first here. And then another alternative way to look at this is there's certain things that are more powerful to certain people. So there's polarizing elements. So what we do here is try to measure what that polarizing element is. A lot of people felt neutral on some things. So kitchen renovation had some neutrality. It'd be nice to have, but didn't have that intense factor. Where we see rooftop bar, there's a strong following behind that. So that here showed up as one of the strongest factors where it had basically a louder voice behind it, if you could put that in data terms. The second thing that actually had a loud voice behind it, even though it showed up lower on that rank order was the cigar bar. So that is a very polarizing element. We see people that have a very strong voice for it and a very strong voice against it, but it actually showed up as the number 2 thing that would provide the greatest satisfaction reach in the club. What came next to that was hotel guest renovation. So these were just some of the stronger aspects. And the kind of the plus system that you're seeing is how much more reach of satisfaction can we get in the club by drawing in some of these different aspects. Beyond this point, we really have smaller incremental gains by the additional renovations. So from this order, if we're looking at the strength of kind of passion behind these different ideas, the rooftop venue cigar bar came up closer to the top, and we do have some gain behind the hotel guest room renovation. Okay. So as a follow-up to that, we asked favor and oppose to these different types of renovations and different ideas. So, and we also asked the question of this, how likely would this be to increase your usage and frequency of the club? Because that's really what we want, is people to be more engaged. More engaged means more satisfaction with the experience overall. So rooftop venue is bolded here for the fact that usage increase was 57%. It's one of the highest aspects here. High-speed Wi-Fi was also a high increase in usage as well. Rooftop venue just had that more powerful priority order of renovations overall that came through here. So those 2 are the ones that are most likely to drive more increased usage of the club. Specialized cigar bar, you can see the favor opposed. When I said it had more of a polarizing element behind it, you can see that of all of the, there's really a little opposition on most aspects here, except for the cigar bar kind of has a little bit more opposition. It's just a polarizing element. But there is a strong following behind it that will increase usage if it was offered. The privatized salon, that one showed up a little bit last on the rank order. Actually, it was the last, and it really had a neutral following behind it. There's those that were favorable, said, yeah, sure, I'll kind of use it, but it really didn't have any strength behind it. And that would be my segue. So there's the datagram, so you can make your plan.
Thank you, Smart. I also want to do a special call out to Carrie Pennington, who was an integral part of that process. She was in charge of the decorum as part of the House Committee, and in that they conducted focus groups and then constructed the questionnaire. I just jumped on her question around decorum and added the other elements around sentiment and investment. So I kind of doubled your obligation to speak to me, but she was the power behind that as well. And she is working with that subcommittee, and they will have their review of our House rules up to the board within the next couple months. But where does this take us? The more important thing is, now that we know where we are, and now that we know what you want us to do, so what are we going to do about it? So the obligation is on us to come up with a strategic plan that'll make a difference. But before I get into where we're going, I want to talk about where we are. The first thing I want to do is talk about what people think of us. So we really want to speak out into looking into how many people know of the Columbia Club and what do they think of us. We reached out to people who live, work, and or play in the downtown community. If you don't do that, it's hard to appeal to you. But among that group, 80%, 8 out of 10 said, hey, we know of you. And I said, well, if you know of us, what do you think of us? Only 1 in 4 could think of us in any positive or neutral manner. They really don't know who we are. So we're kind of a mystery in terms of only 1 or 4 can really articulate what we're about, even though a large number of folks have actually been in our club. They come here for meetings, they come here for wedding receptions, they walk past the awning on a frequent basis, but they really don't know who or what we're all about. So we then said, okay, well, what do you want about our image? What do you like about our image, and what matters most to you? And what you can see is our current image does a very good job of depicting the historical image of the Columbia Club. But what it needs to do is begin to migrate to become more welcoming, more friendly, more diverse, more cultural. So how do we begin to migrate our brand to a wider venue and become more appealing to the multi-generational dynamic that's going on in the downtown community. You don't have to be a real genius to look around. In the past 5 years, the downtown community has gone through a really transformation in its gentrification. We have a huge amount of downtown professional residency now, and it is very diverse, and it is very multiple generational. So we need to emulate a value system of those who live, work, and play in the downtown community. And this gave us a hint of what they were looking for. So then we said, okay, what do members think of us? How would they describe us? The circle on the right pretty much hits and nails what our history is. Traditional and strong and have a great reputation. But they also told us very definitely what they would like to see us migrate to. If we are going to move and we are going to become more current and more competitive with what is being asked of a downtown private club, what should we do? So they really want a place to meet new people, a personal touch. They do want to have community engagement, leadership development, special interest clubs. And we have been beginning to migrate to that purpose over the last year or so. So we're in the transition of moving ourselves to the information that matters most and going forward. So I came to how should we describe ourselves. What hit me once is I was sitting in our lobby with next to a newly minted graduate, and she said, "So, what is this Columbia Club all about?" Well, hell, I should know. But I began to stumble over some words. How do I begin to articulate who we are? Now, while I got it out, it took me a while. And I said, well, how do we begin to describe us? How should we describe ourselves? So I did some research. And I looked at our founding members, and I looked at past leadership and current leadership, and said, how should we begin to define ourselves in a manner that both aligns with who we are and what we are, but also aligns itself with that which is wanted by the communities that we serve or reach out to. So I began to give you some straight marketing jargon. Our brand position is we are Indiana's premier platinum club, city club. There's only 50 city clubs in the country that get awarded a platinum 5-star service, and we're one of them. We had it for the last 6 years. We probably intend to keep it for the next 6 years. But we're ranked in the top 30-40 of the country. And why do we do that? Well, what are we about? Well, we're really about community leadership. From the Harrison Marching Society, which were civically engaged leaders who had a dynamic purpose, they succeeded and they didn't want to let it go. So they hung around, and the Core 300 started the club about 130 years ago. To personal development and premium social services. But everybody needs to have a value proposition. What do we promise people when they come into the club? And hopefully we're hitting and delivering on our value proposition of community leadership, impactful civic and professional engagement, lifelong fellowship. I've been a member close to 30 years, and I have been hanging around some of the same people for 30 years, so they actually hang around me, so I guess it's lifelong. And we move it into some unique venue offerings, something that is unique to Columbians. We have the best locations, so we should have some of the best venue offerings, and a premium social experience. So these are the things that we are. But when we look at sustainability, moving forward, we really have to make sure that we remain relevant, viable, and vibrant, not to just one generation, but to multiple generations. So I did reach out to our committees, and I challenged them to say, hey, let's really cohesively come together and integrate our different temperaments, talents, and convictions, and see if we can continue to perpetuate these pillars of success. So we're going to move forward with that plan, and this is our 28th strategic plan. So the strategic challenge that Matt Friel alluded to is to really develop some programming that effectively inspires participation, engages members, enriches personal interest, and ensures a platinum club experience. So these are the 4 core values that each of our committees are trying to perpetuate and move forward. So the first one is inspire participation. So in that regard, what we're asking to do is first clarify our brand. Let's make sure people truly know not just our name, the 8 out of 10, but the 8 out of 10 can really understand who we are. we started a program of Why I Joined, and we're going to continue that and push it through more of a multi-channel digital campaign, and really trying to make sure that people understand our core values. We're also going to make sure that why membership matters. We started that campaign. It's gotten great interest, but we're also going to start video vignettes. We're going to try and get more video in our digital marketing, content marketing, and let you step forward and say, why do you enjoy a wine or a symphony or an after hours or a Young Professionals Harrison Society? Let our members speak for themselves on why membership matters to them, and then let it be part of our promotional effort. And our goal, as Matt said, is to balance membership in 2018. We're real close. At the end of the first quarter, we were +1. We slipped a little, but we're gaining momentum again going into the third and fourth quarter. We will balance our membership by the end of 2018, and we think we'll be ++ by 2020. But we got to get there. The next one is engaging members. I firmly believe the best way to get to know your club is to join a committee. Wonderful things happen. You actually meet a lot of neat people. You are hanging around some really wonderful talent, and you get to really know and understand what the club has to offer. So we now have 14 committees that are active. I increased our number 6 this year. A couple of them were the communications committee, which is desperately needed to make sure we get our Wi-Fi and we find better ways to communicate to our membership. Another one is our member services. Where we have new club incubation. So when someone has a great idea, I think Carrie's trying to start the Columbian Choir. We have some folks who are starting to start some other club programs, and this is the place where they can come together and do that. We also think that this is the best way for members to really foster ownership of their club and a commitment to outcome. We elevated our House Committee under our Vice President, Greg Good, who is here, and they become the resource and the catalyst for all our committees to come together. So every chairman of every committee now sits on the House Committee, and they can get cross-collaboration, they can bring new ideas to fruition, and they can make sure that we can get some great things moving and engage more members. And the committees are working to really figure out how they can engage and bolster member usage, and how do we reach out and really make a difference, become more relevant. And our goal is that the pathway to board membership is through committee engagement. You get to engage in the club, you get to know the club, you understand the club, and you can rise to any kind of level of leadership that you desire, either a chair of a club, a committee, or a board member, or an officer. The next one is enriching personal interest. I have learned over the time that some of you have some real passions. Passions around wine, passions around cigars, passion around symphony. There are some really passionate people, young entrepreneurs, some tech folks. So how do we really become a collection of those passions and embrace and empower those passionate interests? I call it impassion the passionate. What we find is when people come together who share the same enthusiasm, they create great collegiality. They really meet people who say, hey, we all love wine. I'm meeting and hanging out with people who enjoy what I enjoy. I'm in an adventure club. I'm in a book club. I just like to hang out and be cool after hours and party on the patio and have a cigar. So I'm with other people who seem to like that. So there are great opportunities for us to create and become a downtown after-hour spot and create members, begetting members within fellow passionate efforts. So we're really trying to also say we want to facilitate the business side of business. 20% of our members work for themselves, independent contractors. Another 20% run their own business. Another 10% are doing business in downtown, but they live out of town. They need to have an extension to their downtown environment. So we're looking at how can we create a contemporary member co-working space, and how can we begin to create an awareness. Our leadership and policy forum feels like Columbians should have the inside track. You should have an awareness of what's going on in your community from a policy and business perspectives and get a hint. So we're trying to bring in leadership in our community to give us the inside track ahead of the community at large and really get high tech. So we're moving that, and as I said, we have a member service committee which is formed to incubate new ideas. So if you have an idea, if you have friends and other Columbians who love a particular attribute, bring that to the committee and we'll put some resources behind it and try and make it work. We have some near-term goals in terms of ensuring the Platinum Club experience. 18 months ago, we started that Listen, Learn, and Improve initiative. We saw that dashboard that showed that our Net Promoter Score among events was in the high 60s. It started out in the high 30s. But what we listened to the feedback that members gave us. So when a person, our member, comes to an event, hopefully within a very short period of time, we send a simple survey. They say, how did we do? Did we meet your expectations or fall short? What can we do to make it better? And the recommendations allow staff to listen, learn, and improve the next event. And over time, we've seen two things happen. The scores rise, the satisfaction rise, and what we've also noticed is retention rises. Our loss factor has dropped down, which helps us balance incoming members with lost members. So it's working. We're going to expand that to be more than just those people who are involved. The Net Promoter Score shows that people who use the club are enjoying the club. We have a large number of people who we have yet to get that engaged. So that's why the overall Net Promoter Score, we're in the 30s again. So we're going to reach out and do a more aggressive learn, listen, and improve to all our members at every touch point and try and get them more engaged and learn from them how we can make sure that at every touch point you truly get a Platinum Club experience. But to really move forward, I think we need to identify some game-changing opportunities. To stay competitive within the downtown community, we need to emulate that which our competition's offering. Every month, a new high-end restaurant opens up. Every quarter, a new downtown resident opens up. And some of them have great amenities, from fine dining restaurants to state-of-the-art technology to great health and fitness centers. We need to emulate that, and we need to become unique to Columbians and truly offer what is wanted in our area. So the first thing we got to do is go digital. Fortunately, Steve has got us there. The RFP's out. We're down to the final couple folks, and we will get ourselves into the state-of-the-art technology by the fourth quarter. So what are we going to do with that? The club can now begin to provide benefits without walls. We can take video streaming, as we're trying to do tonight with having this being broadcast to a webinar over the internet to those who couldn't come tonight. So each committee is going to try and look at how can I become more aggressive in bringing benefits to our members outside the walls. Video nutrition classes. Our chefs could do recipes of the month. How do you do a great recipe that's healthy in 20 minutes that kids will actually eat? That could be an interesting one. But also spinning classes, yoga classes, wellness and nutrition classes. John Christensen putting on a class of Lunch and Learn. Those could be in attendance, but it also could be video streamed. So I'm hoping that no matter where you are, if you can log in, and the app would help you get there, you could then begin to enjoy benefits more than just being inside our club. The next thing is I want to say, how can we begin to offer some unique, game-changing venues within the club, but do it without going into debt? Just as easily articulated, not so easily implemented, but we're on our way. Rooms, kitchen, dining, special interest priorities. I have a 3-step plan. The first one is try and create a cash generator. We've got a lovely 88 guest rooms. Half of them are really lovely, half of them are not so lovely, but we're getting there. But the downtown community went from an occupancy of about 55% at the beginning of the Great Recession to about 67% as of last year. We went from a 42% to a 44%. So we kind of fell off by 10%. We think that if we can take that fixed asset and do a better job of promoting Monday through Thursday business traveler, they're here when members typically aren't after 5 and before 8 a.m. And every time they stay, they drop $100 to the bottom line. That can basically generate cash And as I say, build it as they come. The revenue, extra revenue, we think can be $250,000 a year. Can we furnish one room a month? We're trying to bring up our first room and renovate so you have a showcase of what they're going to look like. It was very important to our members, as well as begin the renovations of the kitchen. So hopefully that'll be a cash generator to allow renovations to occur. The next step is to impassion the passion and with a member wow. These are our aspirations. So I really want to focus on converting some underutilized assets into some revenue excitement. So how do we begin to convert that limited space into a special interest magnet? Got some ideas. Our wine society really love wine, and they spend some significant money in acquiring the wine. It'd be nice if we could put it in a temperature-controlled environment. And so we're looking at the second floor business area, converting that into a wine mezzanine. As soon as we do that, we need a business area. We're thinking about taking our 5th floor. There's 3 or 4 suites. One would be a general purpose business a suite for members and guests, but the other ones could be a co-working space. If you've ever seen WeWorks, it's a very popular franchise. This allows state-of-the-art collaboration rooms, AV equipment, heads-down private rooms, whiteboards, sit-stand. It also allows you to do conferencing or teleconferencing. But it's really allowing you to have an extension to your office in the downtown community. And expand our health and wellness center locker room. We have renovated it. Before renovation, 12% of our population used the fitness room. After renovation, it's over 30%. We also have over 45 people on waiting list to get a locker. So we've sold out our first 90 lockers, and we have another 40. When one gives up a locker, we still have over 40 people on a waiting list. So we're actually not catching up with the latent demand for that locker room. So we need to kind of move forward in that. So we really want to create an awesome wow. So I really think, and anybody who's been around me for very long knows that I want a rooftop loft. But I also want a Platinum Skyline cigar lays. We can't put a cigar bar in the club, but we can put one on the club. So I'm looking at a greenhouse on the club, 3 seasons, maybe 4 seasons. So I'm hoping that we will be able to go to the 5th floor, go into the Platinum Lounge, walk out into a glass elevator, take that glass elevator to the roof, turn left for the cigar greenhouse, turn right to an open air venue. So I have this dream that July 4th, 2020, I'm going to be watching the fireworks on the roof of the Columbia Club. So we have our core 4 of a Platinum Club wine room, a 5th floor co-working space, a Platinum Lounge. We have a Columbian Suite on the 5th floor that has the best view of downtown Indy. If you've ever been there, it's a private bar. It's got all the windows overlooking the 50 feet above Monument Circle. During the holiday period, it's a gorgeous site, and 2 private rooms next to it. We're going to blow those rooms out into private dining. We're going to upgrade that facility and make a private lounge for our members. So when you come here and it's crowded with a wedding reception, there's still a place for members to go. If you want discreet private dining, you have a place to go. And we're hoping that that will be take an underused space, maybe 8 to 12 times a year, turn it into a 365-day use for members. And then expand our health in this room, not to just meet the demand for lockers, but to actually turn it into a health and wellness with the expansion of membership beyond walls. That's our core 4. I'm hoping that this time next year, I can say, have you been to our core 4 facilities? So we're hoping to bring that on within the next 12 months, and I'm hoping, like I said, to have the rooftop loft and the cigar lays by 2020. So this is our ambition, and someday we'll just be the hottest after-hour spot in Indy. Now, that was easily articulated. Now this is the more difficult. How do we get there? With debt-free spending. So, yeah, I'm going to ask you to help me out. So, I'm trying to say that the club has prospered for the last 130 years. Leadership tends to find a way to prosper. But downtown has really gone through a gentrification transformation, and we really need to kickstart ourselves and jump the curve and get competitive. So I'm going to be asking folks to contribute and be a part of our legacy, Columbian Legacy Fund, to really ensure the sustainability and provide these game-changing wows to the club. So we're looking for 250 charter members to be inducted into the Columbian Platinum Society. It took 130 years ago, 250 members of the Marching Society called themselves Columbians and started the club. I'm going to spin off of that, and ask 250 Columbian members to start the Platinum Society and ensure our sustainability for the next at least 30 years. We'll have to probably change again to be competitive then, but we've got to move forward, we've got to jump into it. It's going to be done by creating a sustaining legacy fund and once you join it, you get a lifetime Platinum Society recognition. Fortunately, Darrell White's here representing our foundation. I spoke to him, I spoke to our trustees. They're on board. They will help us provide, hopefully what we're thinking is some tax-free, deductible contributions into the Legacy Fund. You become a lifetime member of our Legacy Society, and we can use those funds to create these WOW venues and move ourselves forward. I'll begin to reach out to the members over the next couple of months with some private receptions, hopefully in our fifth floor future lounge. And we'll talk about how best we can get that going. So Core 4 by 2019, Rooftop by 2020. So that's where we're going, and I'm hoping that you will all enjoy the trip and more importantly enjoy the landing point. Questions and answers? Matt?
So, you never set a price?
Not yet.
So I'm gonna make an assumption. Let's just say it's somewhere between $7,000 and $10,000.
Good assumption.
All right. I am generally supportive of this. Okay. A couple questions I have though regarding the plan. If I'm going to give money to the foundation, I'm going to designate, as the federal government allows, to any 501c3 where that money goes. So I have no interest in some of your ideas. I have great interest in others. So I'm going to ensure that they go to my money goes to the areas that I'm interested in. There's no, I don't think anybody argue with me, the track record of following through on some of this stuff is not always been stellar. So if I write a check for $10,000, I suppose I'd like to see it held in some sort of building corporation before it goes to the foundation. So that if this falls apart, if we don't reach our 2020 goal, I get my money back.
I don't know the legal ramification of that. I do know that the foundation is going to set aside a private fund that's earmarked for the Platinum Society renovation effort, and those funds will only be used for that effort. I will not build the first effort until I know that we're over 150 of our 250. So I do believe that we will hit our objective, and I do believe that we will satisfy and deliver on that. I don't know the ability to designate it to a particular aspect of that, but the purpose of the Legacy Fund...
No, that's the benefit of 501c3. If I give money to the donation, I can write it in the foundation. I can write what I want to go towards.
If you want to restrict it to one of the 6, you could probably do that. I'll check with the foundation, and they can set that aside and use it for that purpose. Yes, sir.
Well, thanks. I mean, really, I think all of us are pretty compelling
What?
about this.
You now have a mic.
Can I have a loud one? I'm short of those. No, thank you so much. I wasn't expecting quite as thorough review of everything, and I'm very happy to see that. I wasn't quite clear. So there is basically to be a second club. Is that the idea? Basically, so in other words, there is to be a rooftop that would be built, which I think is a fantastic thing. but it would only be for those 250 charter members, is that it?
Not necessarily. The purpose of the Legacy Society is, above all things, to ensure the viability of the club. While there are some individual collective passions, whether it be cigar, or whether it be wine, or it be entrepreneurial co-working space, or the lounge, collectively, we meet the interests of all the club. So my real objective is to create the Legacy Fund so that the aggregation of all these individual interests raises the overall club. So all ships will rise when the water runs in.
But I guess the question I have is if we bring people in who are appealing to, it seems that we're getting away from being a political club, which is helpful, I think, in terms of bringing more of the downtown professionals in, I think. But a lot of those people are going to be in their 30s that we're looking for, maybe their 40s. They may not have the amount of money to pay to be able to use the rooftop that we're using to appeal.
And on the second phase, while the charter members become lifetime members of the Platinum Society, anybody can use any of these other elements. But it's more of how much of the club do you want to use? Everybody would be a Columbia club. Anybody could then say, I want to rise to participate in the platinum level because I want to use the co-working space, or I want to use the rooftop, or I want to be part of the wine mezzanine. That can happen at any level by raising your membership dues by about a third. So if you're a 30-year-old, you pay a reduced fee. This would be 1/3 of the reduced fee. So it makes it affordable to anybody who wants that service. But those people who commute to downtown may not be that interested in rooftops or be that interested in co-working space. So they want all that they have now, plus high-speed Wi-Fi. And they may not want those services. For those who want that service, it'll be affordable to whatever class you are. So if you're a distinguished member, it's 1/3 that rate.
But I mean, to be clear, it will be basically a two-tier arrangement.
Not necessarily a two-tier. It's kind of like American Express. You can American Express or American Express Platinum. It's how much of a service do you want to buy within the club. So it's a single membership, but you can buy all that we have now, or you can buy a little bit more with it 1/3 off. But it's just one membership, two classifications in terms of how much you want. But I'm trying to make it affordable to everybody at every generational stage.
And not to hog the microphone, but after the details of the finances are as far as how much this would cost exactly, is there going to be another meeting that will also address this so we can chat about that? Or?
Absolutely. We're going to try and be as authentic and transparent as we possibly can all the way through.
Okay.
There'll be 4 receptions over September, October, and November. We'll be inviting people to have a group one-on-one with me where we can show the renderings, we can show the club efforts, we can get the foundation to validate the tax deduction capability of the donations, and we'll report our progress.
Okay. And this is something that is going forward regardless at this point, right?
It is intended to go forward. I have taken it to our board of directors and they unanimously supported it. I have taken it to the foundation who unanimously supported it or standing by with our trustees. I'm taking it to membership now. According to the surveys, some of the elements are deeply wished in the individual venues, and collectively, I think if we don't do this, it's going to be difficult to compete.
No, I agree with a lot of what that. I'm just concerned about the walking into my home downtown. That's kind of 2 levels. That's my only concerns.
Okay. Other questions?
I have one.
Yes, sir. We'll hand you a mic and we'll address your question.
Thank you, Tammy. I'm Dr. Toby Malachi, a relatively new member. Outstanding presentation.
We can stop right there. We're on a good note, and I agree with you.
I was thinking along the lines of what Matt was saying and what this gentleman was saying right here, and looking at your survey. I took the survey, so I'm looking for my free appetizer. No. But if you're trying to attract the millennials, and that seems to be where a growth spot downtown, value added. I'd like to say, if you're gonna have a platinum club, if the word starts getting out, you're gonna have like an elite of a club to pay. You may kind of scare them off just a little before you get started. I understand the stagnated approach going into it. I'm around all those young people a lot. They got great brains, and Bob Nakasaki, in his book, used a basketball metaphor, life in 4 quarters. So I'm probably in the 4th quarter of life, but I can still dunk. So, but I think when you do that, as soon as you got it well planned out, the roof, the wine, I mean, it's really well. And for me as a new member looking at it, it's like, now let's get started, and let's go. And so with that, I'm trying to think of the young people and getting those numbers up, and they're the ones going to kind of carry it for those of us who are 68 going on 69. And I know they don't want to come to a club and just see just my fat belly, for example. So you've got it well thought out, but I just on what this gentleman said here, and I don't want to scare the young people
I've
off.
always been sensitive. The last thing I want to do is create a sense of a 2-tiered membership. I really don't. It's fundamentally how much of the member services do you really want. Some of these special venues are not wanted by everybody in our region. As Matt said, I love some of your ideas. I don't love all your ideas. So do I want to pay for all those ideas, or do I want to pay for some? Well, collectively, I want to raise the club, make sure we can compete. No one member is going to want all 6 of these new innovations. But I'm hoping that collectively, at least every member will like one of them. And collectively, it makes the club much more viable and vibrant and relative to downtown community. I also want to make it affordable to everybody who wants to be here. I mean, to a young 35-year-old, to be a platinum member is less than $30 more a month. If you want to be part of a co-working space, they charge $600 to $800 a month to be part of it. You can come to the Columbia Club as a 30-year-old, be part of the club and the co-working space for under $200 a month. So they can get for $200 what's going to cost them $600 anywhere else in the downtown community. So I want to make it equally affordable to our older folks who are maybe retired and distinguished members. They pay $150 for a 30% to $45 more, for less than $500 a month. If they want the extra services, they can. So I'm thinking that if the Legacy Fund works, the majority of the cost of these venues will in fact be paid for debt-free. The only extra fee is to make sure that it gives you the level of service you want inside those venues. And that'll be usage sensitive. If you want it, pay a little bit more, you can use it.
So I sit on the Harrison board, and one of the things that comes up constantly is the fact that there's always the plus. And for people that are younger, they look at going to a gym. I can go to the YMCA, so I'm going to pay $60 a month, but I've got free cycling classes, I've got free weightlifting classes, I've got all these things that are included that they're then paying for here. So the question then becomes, at what point are we paying a price to then have access to a pricier thing, when I can go anywhere else in the city and really get access to those same sort of products at either a reduced rate or for free?
I agree that there are other venues that can always underprice us, and other price things that are free. And some people say, well, what do I get with my membership dues? Well, I'm hoping that you get access to this club. And it's private, and when you go work out in our club, you're working out with 10 people, and you have your private locker, and it's a little bit different than what you would get at the YMCA. So I'm hoping that what we offer has that value added to justify the little bit extra, that while you can get it cheaper, you hopefully appreciate what it
But now what you're offering is, you're offering that to yet a limited number of people, because you're asking another membership. And so, while I agree with you that exists right now, you have this sort of all-encompassing, house that you can come to. When we start doing a second tier, what you're essentially doing is eliminating all of that again.
I don't know if I'm eliminating it or just making it usage sensitive. I mean, certainly every member will have all that you have right now and a little bit more.
How is that not different from like a hotel then? If I can just go to a hotel and pay for a room and pay for the gym, isn't the purpose of a private club to be offering all of these things for sort of one price? And understandably, there's always a few extras.
Yeah,
At what point are we
if
just
you come
paying
to our hotel, you pay $105 as opposed to $205. As a member, so you get a better price there, and you get the free jump. So I can't always compete with lower cost venues, but hopefully I can compete on the value added that you can get within our club Justified. I don't know if I can always be equitable with a YMCA or a Marriott, but we have something that's here for all our members, and it's personalized, and it's more attentive service. And I think the Platinum Club service hopefully will justify some of the value-added plus. Because the plus covers our cost of our servers, who are here to give you a little bit more personalized attention than you might get at a YMCA or Marriott. I don't know if I'm answering all your questions the way you want to hear them, but I'm trying to answer them as equitable as I possibly can.
Service will be on a and B level?
No.
Or the venues will be on an A and B?
No. I'm thinking that all venues will be equally good no matter where you go in the club. I'm just saying not everybody wants to go to a cigar bar or a wine room or a co-working space or a rooftop bar after hours. Those who do want to go it will have that access. Those who don't will have the access that they currently have.
Right, which this creates another issue. For instance, I'm possibly one of those that's opposed to the cigar bar. In my premium, I might be willing to pony up to 10K, but I don't want it to be used to the cigar bar. You know, so.
I understand your.
What service do I get? You know, like.
I understand your
cater to them,
sensitivity.
since we're, you know, saying, oh, well, you get this special thing for this extra, but you know, I don't want to support the other extra. I don't use the locker.
Let me kind of break these down into two separate objectives, if I can. The first objective is, what does it take to make sure the club remains competitive, relevant, viable, and vibrant? I think it needs all 6 of these new ideas. Collectively, they make the club wow. They make the club competitive. They make things unique to only Columbians. Each one has its individual interests and individual disinterests. So I'm not asking folks to contribute to a cigar bar, or contribute to a gym, or contribute to a rooftop venue. Well, I might do that. What I'm really asking you to do is contribute to the viability of the club. And if you do that, you be part of the members of the Platinum Society. We recognize your contribution to the viability of the club, and we go about trying to provide all 6 of these venues to all those who want it as a member. You can choose to use any one of those 6 or not use any one of those 6. So, I mean, some people don't like wine, but they aren't part of the wine society. Some people don't like cigars, they won't be part of the cigar society. But you can choose to be part of what you want to be part of. And when you do that, you're going to hang out with people who love what you love. And that's where the camaraderie and the life fellowship comes about. But they're 2 separate issues. One is provide for the viability of the club, the Platinum Club Society, and then once we get the venues, then people can use what they want to use. Freedom of choice.